Hello, and welcome to the Music Teacher Coffee Talk podcast. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Carrie. We are both elementary music teachers who love to talk shop, preferably over a steaming cup of coffee. This is episode number 166. Today we are taking a peek at our week and looking at our third grade lesson plans. We'll also talk about our highs and lows from the teaching week, discuss some ideas in our Know Better, Do Better segment, share a work smarter, not harder teacher tip.
And in our CODA section, we'll give some specific recommendations of our favorite things we are enjoying in or out of the music room. So grab your beverage of choice and let's get started. Well, it's that time where we talk about highs and lows from our teaching week or our just world's, life week, because it's all intertwined.
It
Teaching,
is.
life, all the things. Carrie?
Oh, I'm going first. Okay. Well, it was a tough week, everybody, for our country. And however you land, I think we can all say it was a tough week. Just dealing with all of the things. Um, so I will say I had a high. The timing of it was difficult because it came Wednesday after Election Day. But I got to go and be the guest conductor and clinician for the St. Vrain District Elementary Choral Festival here in Colorado. So, on a day where I was feeling like maybe I was going to have a hard time showing up for kids, I think the best thing to do was to show up for kids, if that makes sense. And I got to work with students that I didn't know. So it was like just walking into a brand new situation. And these were students that had prepared some pieces that I had chosen. And then I got to teach them a piece by rote that day. And then we presented our concert in the evening. And, can't fix all the things in the world, but I will say that singing joyfully with kids made my heart feel better, and I hope it made their hearts feel good too. And it was just a really special day. I had never done anything like that before, being a guest clinician like that. I was really nervous going into it, feeling like I don't know if I'm fit for this. But it was really fun, and I thought everything turned out really well, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you to Janae Bird and the St. Vrain district and all their music teachers there. Also got to reconnect with some music teachers who I know. And also my very first assistant principal and my very first job, her daughter is a music teacher in St. Vrain. So she came to watch the concert, and it was really special to see her because she's like, I remember hiring you when you were just out of college and look what you're doing. And it was just like, yeah, I can feel proud about where I've come in my career because I think I've worked hard at it and had some really great mentors along the way who've helped me get there. So all that to say, it was a high during a tough week. So that's what I'll say about that. How about you, Tanya? How was your week?
It was hard. And I missed a few days this past week. On Monday, I had medical appointments that I had to do. And then on Wednesday, my youngest had surgery. And so I was out of school. And then Friday, we had a snow day, surprise.
Yeah.
A snow day that they called the night before there was any snow on the ground. And it was odd waking up and seeing still no snow on the ground, but it came midday and it kept on coming.
Yeah.
So, um,
It was probably a
yeah,
good call in the end, and I'm certainly not going to complain about it because I felt like I needed that day of rest at the end of the week.
it was good to have that day of rest for sure.
Yeah.
So I only taught for 2 days this past week, but I will say on Thursday, I need to go high with what's going on in second grade because we presented Doe, even though I knew I wasn't going to see them. I was only going to see them that one time this week. I don't love this seeing kids for 2 days in a row and then them going away from me for a long time because it would be a perfect world if I could present a concept on the first day and then start practicing the second day. It's just not how that worked out. So
Right.
on the second day, I presented Doe, which was kind of funny because the second graders were like, finally, Doe moved in. We knew Doe was going to move in. Um, and we were reading some melodies. We have not started writing melodies or using manipulatives to write melodies on a 5-line staff. We've explored it on the instruments. Of course, we've sung it, but we did start reading on a 5-line staff, just a tiny bit, peas porridge hot. I know a lot of people might do the chant of peas porridge hot, and I honestly cannot tell you where the melody version is, but it goes peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. So you've got that lovely so me dough. So we had been using that song, which is a great double duty song because if you use it in first grade for discovering or prepping rest, you can bring it back super easily in second grade. And I've got that so me do. So we presented dough, and I used we presented dough through Peace Porch Hot and also through Sorida, Sorida, which is a lovely song from Zimbabwe that's in Let Your Voice Be Heard. So right away, I had us read Peas Porridge Hot with solfege on the staff, and second graders can read melodies. And that was kind of really nice because in the past, when presenting dough, I have started by showing it on Melody Street, making sure they've experienced playing it on an instrument so they can see those skips from So to Me and dough. But I skipped the part where we were reading melodies by just reading um, lowercase solfege. And I said, let's see how this goes. And we went to the staff and I go, okay, if so is here and me is here, then do is here. Now let's read this. They were able to read the whole song without me reading or singing at all. And
Yay.
it was a tiny thing. I mean, they should be able to do this by now. I kind of spent a really long time in prep of dough, and that's okay because they can read that melody. So I'm going to celebrate that tiny high of second graders. They can read a melody, or at least that melody, on the staff. So that was kind of a fun moment. And they were jazzed about it too.
That's awesome. So, we are going to do another peek at our week episode and talk about third grade. We were talking off mic about how both of us are kind of like, sure, we'll talk about this, knowing that our week was really wonky because of all these days off. Like, I was also gone, like you mentioned, Wednesday and then snow day Friday. So, some of these things are things that I've actually done, and some of these things are things I'm planning on doing. But nonetheless, we shall proceed and talk about our third grade plans for this past week or upcoming weeks. So, Tanya's going to kick it off. What are you working on with third grade, Tanya?
Okay, third grade. As you mentioned, it's been a wonky week, and actually, this next week's a little bit wonky as well. I'm going to be taking fifth and sixth grade to the symphony on one day, and on another day, I have some PBIS training. So, again, I'm not going to be there the full week. So, what I am trying to do is um, have two lesson plans worth of lessons that all of my groups will get to before Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving is almost there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the snow day happened too. And I was like, well, glad I decided already to do this. Um, also, all of these disclaimers. Also, um, have I mentioned third grade's a little challenging? Third grade's a little challenging.
I know we
Um,
talked a lot last year about second grade being challenging. Guess what? They're still challenging.
Surprise! Yeah. What? They got a year older and they're still challenging?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Uh Honestly, yeah. Uh, They're challenging behavior-wise, but also they're challenging musically. I've got some third grade classes that whew, they don't have the skills that I want them to have by third grade. I I have some students who they found their singing voice, but their singing voice is loud and incorrect. I don't
Uh,
know how to say it. Have you ever had this experience of everyone singing in unison in the room, but like two or three kids are singing a beat behind, and you are thinking, do they not hear what's happening? Do they not even like they're off?
Yeah.
and stubbornly so. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And I've
they're
got some that
loud
would make
and
choir
proud,
too.
and I'm like, do you get, and I would never, and I have not, the impulse is to say, hey, so and so, um, why don't you not sing this time and listen
Right.
to what's happening in the room? I don't know if there's a good way, tactful way to do that, because it's like I've got some students when they are singing and they're loud. It's like they've turned off their hearing and they've turned off their thinking, and it's strange. Yeah. Anyway, all that to say, musically, we're not exactly where I would like us to be, and so also, um, I, I would say of my four classes, three of them I've got great buy-in. They're excited, they're enthusiastic, sometimes to a fault, where it's like, okay, we got to stop cheering that we're doing this particular song and actually do the thing. And you know,
Yeah.
it's not appropriate to hoot and holler when I say, okay, we're doing this thing and you're excited. I don't know, whatever. It's better than the other side of the coin, which would be, we don't like this. We don't, which I do get from one class in particular, because I have some negative leaders who are, um, the cool thing to do is to not like anything. And I know you've had that as well. And anybody who's taught for a minute has. All right. All of this to say, stop the disclaimers, Tanya, and say, what are we doing? Um, I will say half of my class time is getting them on board, which is a funky thing because, like I said, I have three out of the four classes who are right with me. They're so excited. And then I have the one class that I feel like maybe I'm building my lesson plan for that fourth class to get them on board and get them excited. All right. So I'm starting each lesson. I usually start the primary kids, first, second, kindergarten, first, second, with a opening song. And I do change up my opening songs probably every, oh, 2 months or however it lands, mostly because I get bored of the same opening song. And also, I want them to have more repertoire. I like that an opening song sets the stage and we come in and we sing and we sit down and away we go. And it's really good for primary kids, but honestly, all kids to know that when we come into music, this is what we do. Da, 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 right. Um, with third grade, I haven't had an opening song. I guess I was using some Ticka Ticka repertoire as our opening song for a few class times, but lately, last couple of rotations, we haven't had an opening song. Now our opening song is we're singing "This Land Is Your Land." Uh, our last class period, I read "This Land Is Your Land." There is a wonderful book that maybe many of you have, and we're linking it in the show notes. But what I really like about this book of "This Land Is Your Land" is that it goes beyond the first and second verse. Because when Woody Guthrie wrote this song, we have to keep in mind that this was not a stamp of approval on all things United States of America. I also know that there's controversy from people who say that this is a song we should not be singing when we say "This land is your land," because the idea of us claiming this land as our land was made for you and me takes away from the fact that this land was not for citizens of the United States, that this land belonged to other people when we quote discovered this land. So I know that that's out there as well. This is why I really like to expose kids to the the other verses of "This Land Is Your Land" about, um, I saw my people in the shadow of the steeple, and I asked myself, is this land made for you and me? So I read the book and we sing through the book. And this is a song that kids really enjoy, I've noticed through the years. And so now we're just doing an old fashioned, I'm playing guitar, kids are singing "This Land Is Your Land." It's a good way to start the music class time. And it's a quote patriotic song. I don't know if we can honestly call it a patriotic song. It's a song about our country that I am comfortable having everyone know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because it makes room for questioning and discussion and
it
not
makes room for
just.
questioning and discussion, even though I am not taking time to discuss. If kids ask questions and something happens organically, then we'll go there a little bit. But I know that in the music room, I am aiming for joyful music making, and maybe this song plants seeds that kids will um, think about more in the future, and that's great. So,
Yeah.
the joy of music making. This land is your land. It's a song that they love. Um, we are in theory prepping Lola, and yet, I haven't done any pure Lola repertoire. This is what I'm supposed to be, according to my long range plans, according to past Tanya, and according to the Kodai teacher in me. This is what I'm supposed to be doing is prepping Lola, but I'm not really doing that right now. Um, we're doing the song High Low Chickalo, which is, while it has low law, it also has a low so in it. So not an awesome low law song because that low so is so prominent. And I'll sing it. It goes like this. High low chickalo, 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 high low chickalo, chickalo, high. And you can find that in Singing Games and Rhymes for Middle Years, which is a book that was put out by Lucinda Geoghegan on behalf of the National Youth Choir of Scotland. This book is a gem and worth having because it's got so many songs that I've not been able to find elsewhere. And it's interesting that a song that was promoted and put together by the National Youth Choir of Scotland has so many American gems in it. It does have a couple of songs that I don't do in my classroom, FYI. And we understand that we have song collections that still have those songs that we know are problematic, but generally most of the repertoire in here is songs that are awesome for middle and upper grades. So it also has a CD on it, um, if you are able to play those kind of things, and I am. I don't know if the newer version would have a code that you could go here. Anyway, High Low Chickalo has a very fun game, and I will show you. You put your hands back to back with somebody else's hands, and we can't do this on Zoom, but
I'm trying.
I know. So your hands are like this with
Yeah.
your partner's hands if you see us on YouTube. And the idea is that for every high, you pat your partner's hands above for high
Mm.
and below for low. So it would go high, low, chickalo, 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 high, low, chickalo, chickalo, high. So
So you're like
it's a
directly, the game is directly demonstrating the melodic contour, which is super cool.
exactly. Well, and what's also fun about the song in this game is that there's a opposite version where the highs and the lows are switched. So, that's for once the kids know it really well. Anyway, once upon a time, we also saw Leanne Gardner at an Oak conference use Hi Ho Chickalo and did like a whole like everybody's playing the hand clapping game championship kind of thing where you up the tempo, you make it faster each time. We're not there yet. The reason I pulled out this song is because I knew my fourth class of third graders would really dig it, and they do. um, Even though melodically it's not going to work for Lola, that's okay. We'll doing it now because I wanted something that got more buy-in. So right now we're just practicing the basic game where we say hi, low, chickalo, and we do those hand clapping things, and they want to go faster, and we do, and then we're done with it. So probably after Thanksgiving, because of the way things are working out, we will keep going with this, and we might have a class time where we make it into a championship and we up the tempo. Yes, I can pull this out when we really do low law or low so it. I can pull this out. So yeah, we're doing that. We are reading Turkey Turkey Gobbler melodically, so that's cool. And I peeked at your notes and I noticed you were going to mention Turkey Turkey Gobbler.
Yeah, but you go first. So go for it.
Okay. So where did we get this song, Carrie? I don't even know.
I learned it from Amy Abbott in her blog.
Really?
I did. That was the
Let's
first time I'd
let's
seen it, but I know it's been around. So,
I know it's been around. I swear I've learned it somewhere else, but it goes like this. Turkey, turkey gobbler, please run away, or someone will find you on Thanksgiving Day. It's a good pentatonic song for reading. I start by playing an actual audio recording of a turkey going, right? And we practice making turkey sounds uh, with also practicing conducting. So I will conduct and I'll say, okay, you can't make your turkey sound until you see me ask you to make the turkey sound. And when I cut off, you've got to stop the turkey sound. This is super important because when we play the game, everybody wants to gobble. They just want to gobble. So I want to make sure I give everybody ample opportunity to gobble away. After I conduct, then I have like a student conductor who comes and gets everyone gobbling and cutting off. And we stress that, oh, you got to follow your conductor. So I might have one, maybe two student conductors practicing the gobbling so we can get those gobbles out of our system. I have a little turkey headband thing that has a little turkey on the front. It's kind of goofy that people can wear. I had this turkey hat. It was kind of like you were putting a like culinary turkey on your head.
yeah.
But it was kind of floppy and some kids were freaked out by it. So I don't use that one anymore. I just have this little turkey on a headband. So in this game, you're in a circle and we sing the song, Turkey, turkey gobbler, please run away, or someone will find you on Thanksgiving Day. Excuse me on my voice. And one kid is blindfolded in the middle and they are the chef. And the other kid has the turkey headband and they are the turkey. And everybody else in the circle is the fence. The fence, you just stand there. If the turkey or the chef get too close to you, mostly the chef because they're blindfolded, then you can say fence so that they understand that you are there and they have to like back up. So the idea is the turkey is trying to get away from the chef. The chef is blindfolded. The chef can't see the turkey, but wants to tag the turkey with their hand. And at the end of the song, it's very much like Marco Polo. The chef can call out turkey, and the turkey must answer with gobble with their gobble.
I play it differently, and I
Oh,
don't
well, I
know
can't wait to hear it.
if that's a conscious decision or not. Do you want me to talk about it now or when I talk about it later?
Um,
'Cause it's not related to my concept. It's just I just play a different game with it.
oh, yeah, you can tell us now. I was just gonna
Oh, no,
finish
I'm
the
sorry. Go.
no, no, it's all right. There was another game, another song with this game that we by meaning me, that I used to play a million
Yeah.
years ago that is problematic. So it's not like I took this game and put it to this song. This is how I learned this song. And honestly, I can't give credit where credit is due. I don't remember from whom I learned this game from. But it's always been this game with this song. So yeah, the turkey gobbles and the chef has to try to tag them. And the chef can call out turkey as much as they want. And then after, some amount of time, I silently count down by showing 10 on my hands.
Mm.
And then we have new kids. It's very simple. If somebody is tagged, what does that mean? It means they win and whatever. If someone's not tagged, it means that they don't win and that's fine. And we move on. Big hit. They love to play it. My point is, I want us to sing it. We read it before we play it. All right, tell us your version.
Oh, no, I mean, it's similar, but I don't know if I made a conscious decision or if I just misread the game directions when I read it. It's possible that it's the second one. But I play it just as a chase game where, yeah, the turkey's in the middle where the fence, the chef is on the outside, and at the end, well, I let the fence walk around. And then on
Oh,
Thanksgiving Day, and then we open the gates, and then it's the
ah,
chase in and out, which is the same way that I play Naughty Kitty Cat. So it's kind of like bringing back Naughty Kitty Cat. And I give them a time parameter by doing the song. That's one of my favorite things to do. We just
Yeah, yeah.
do, and by the time we finish doing the song one time, if the chef hasn't caught the turkey, then I let the turkey stay the turkey, but the chef has to find a replacement. So that's their prize, is they get to continue in that role. Um, Again, maybe I just misread the directions or just decided I want to do it this way, but that's how I play it. It's more of a straight up chase. But I like your game too. That's cute.
No, I like the chase thing too. I feel like I've done so many chase games this year already,
I
so
know, I
it's
know.
nice to have something a little bit. But I had forgotten, you're right. I have done that in the past where if you do win, you get to pick whatever replacement you want. I haven't done that this time. Maybe it's just because I'm like third grade. I'm like clamped
Well, and
down
it
on.
gives more turns if you switch them both over. So there's I
Yeah,
understand the
yeah,
want to do both, but okay,
yeah.
sorry. I
Okay.
didn't mean to
No, that's all
interrupt you.
great. Um, so are we prepping Lola? No, we are not. Are we reading melodically in the pentatonic? Yeah, yeah, we are. And we're singing and we're playing high, low, chicka. We're playing games. And then honestly, I threw in Chimes of Dunkirk, um, kind of on the fly this week because of the surprise snow that we got and understanding that kids were not going to be going out for outdoor recess. And so I'm like, Chimes of Dun, we haven't done a lot of folk dancing this year. Chimes of Dunkirk is a great first folk dance of the year to just get our bodies remembering on how to move with the phrase and the form. And it's easy enough that I can teach it to my kids in like 7 minutes. So Chimes of Dunkirk for the win. And gosh, it sounds like not very much, but that's what's happened in third grade. That's what will happen from here until Thanksgiving, just because of the state of things right now and the sub days that I have. Boy, it is so hard to write sub plans. That's another topic. Um, I'm not leaving turkey gobbler with a sub.
That's funny. I did, but because
Unless, well, but because I know who you've
I've
got.
got a
Yeah.
music sub, so it's different.
If you have a music sub, you can leave these things. I do not, which
Yeah.
reminds me, I've got to do some calling this afternoon, but that's another story. If I had a music sub, I'd leave all of this. In fact,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be great. But all right, that's what's happening.
Well, what I hear, Tanya, is that you are responding to the needs of your kids, which is the hallmark of an excellent music teacher. Because
Oh,
yes, no, and I'm not saying this sarcastically. I'm because we, and by we I mean me, get bogged down in the conceptual teaching of things. Like you mentioned earlier, my yearly plan says that this week I'm supposed to be prepping Lola, so dang it, I'm prepping Lola. And that might not be in best service of the kids, right? So you have to know your kids and where they're at, both socially and emotionally, as well as their musical knowledge and understanding, and where to take them next. And the joy of musicking is much more important than the fact that you're going to pound Lola into their brains, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
know this, of course. But
I know,
this
and
also goes
I'm
back.
saying it out loud for me and for our listeners.
Yes. This also goes back to something we had touched upon a couple of podcasts ago about how hard it is to keep all of your classes basically on the same page. And now that I've got four of them instead of three, I'm really feeling that. I'm like, oh, but so and so's class and so and so's class, they would be ready to do this and that and the other. But this class is so very not like,
Yeah.
oh, in a perfect world, I would just have all the time in the world so that I could really make it so that everybody's on their own track. But that's impossible.
It's also not
It's just
realistic. Yeah.
impossible. When you got
'Cause,
24 classes, it's not
yeah,
happening.
you
No.
can't write 24 different lesson plans. It's hard enough just
Yeah.
to write the six, right? So, well, and I bring this up because interestingly enough, I was like listening and really trying to think why, and I don't know why, but my third graders are also challenging. That I think we know why. But the point is, mine are challenging in a different way. So what I mean is like musically, they are really, really good. And I mean, I've had classes exactly what you're talking about, where you've got your kiddos that you feel like you have to sell them and, it has to be cool enough and all that kind of stuff. I feel like kind of the opposite with my third graders, that what they need is like very like structured and very simple in the way of like predictable routines and procedures, and that I find, and I've tried it both ways with these guys since they were young. If I deviate from what I consider to be like a very traditional Kodai inspired lesson plan, and I do throw much extra things at them, sometimes that backfires because then they kind of go bananas. Where if I really think about my lesson plan in like a very like da 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 way, in particular with pacing. And so actually, I had third grade when my principal came and observed me a couple weeks ago, and she happened to be coming in on the day I was presenting Ray. And I was like, well, cool. She gets to see a presentation lesson, which is like a whole different beast, right, in our world. But also, like, I plan that lesson really carefully for myself and my students, not because I knew she was coming. I did not know she was coming. But I had my lesson segments super short, super focused. My transitions were really good. Like, I really worked hard on that lesson plan because I wanted it to go well. Because a presentation lesson, especially a melodic presentation lesson, when it doesn't go well, then you've got a lot of fixing to do afterwards, right? So, all that to say, she was like, oh my gosh, afterwards, she was like, are you exhausted? And I was like, actually, no. Like, me keeping that pace actually serves me in the long run. If I slow my pace, they take advantage of that and they start to act ridiculous. So, all that to say, what I'm about to talk about with my third graders is like kind of the opposite of what you're saying, where I really am trying to keep on keeping on with my Kodai sequence, because I feel like with these guys, when I don't, it doesn't serve me well and it doesn't serve them well. I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm saying, but like
Oh, totally. Yeah.
they are very like they need concrete, like super concrete. And yes, we can throw in some fun songs and games, but like so much, they love the literacy stuff, like love, love, love the literacy stuff. The day I presented Ray, they were like super excited about learning a new note. So like I'm gonna go with that energy, right? So we are practicing Ray, and yes, I use Turkey Gobbler as a new song to read, and it's so good for the Ray because that second phrase, please run away, hangs out on Ray right there, right? And then the on Thanksgiving Day, so me Ray Ray do. So yeah, and there's no law in it, it's just so me Ray do, so it's really good for that. The other cool thing is that a lot of my Ray repertoire also becomes my Ticka Ticka repertoire, and that's where I am in my sequences. I'm practicing Ray, and then prepping Ticka Ticka, and will present Ticka Ticka this week. So songs like Tidy-O has the me right do tidy-o at the end, right? Pumpkin, pumpkin, round and fat, turn into a jack-o'-lantern just like that was a really excellent song for prepping Ticka Ticka as well as practicing Ray. What I'm doing with it this week is changing the lyrics to pumpkin, pumpkin, round and fat, turn into a pumpkin pie just like that. And yes, I know
I
the
was going to say
Ticka.
that. I was totally going to say, did you change it to turn it to a
Yeah,
pumpkin pie?
totally. I totally do that. And the kids think it's fun. And they love the little game, which is played just like Bow Wow Wow. So for pumpkin, pumpkin, round and fat, we go pat, clap, like they're patting their own lap. Pat, clap, pat, clap, pat, clap, pat with your partner, because you're facing your partner in a single circle. And then you put your hands together. I call them pancake hands. And then while your hands are up frozen in pancake hands, you trade spots, turn into a pumpkin pie. And then just like that is when you turn around and you face the new partner. And when we were talking about jack-o'-lanterns, we made a jack-o'-lantern face. Now we just turn around and smile at our partner. And
Should we make a pumpkin pie face?
no, I don't make a pumpkin pie. I could have them say like gobble gobble, but again, with them, no, simple is better. Because if I give them room, they will take advantage. So, anyways, they love that song. They love that game. And it like surprises me how much they love that song and that game. But I'm like, I'm going with it. That's great. Um, so yeah, now those have become Ticka Ticka songs. Tidy-O, Pumpkin Pumpkin. I also want to mention Paw Paw Patch. So Paw Paw Patch is a great song for Ticka Ticka. It does have a very extended melody, so we don't go there melodically with Paw Paw Patch, but I want to talk about how I do it because it's kind of taken me a while to come to how I want to approach Paw Paw Patch. So the original first verse is, where oh where is pretty little Susie? Where oh where is pretty little Susie? Where oh where is pretty little Susie, way down yonder in the pawpaw patch. And then in the second verse, come on, boys, let's go find her. And then in the third verse, picking up pawpaws, put them in your pocket. And I've always loved the song, and I've always loved the game that's played in a long way set. But as many of us, I've struggled with the gendering issue of the song and the game, because traditionally I would play the game with all the girls on one side, and they're the Susies, and all the boys on the other side, and they're the boys. And if we ever had an uneven number, I would just ask if someone would volunteer, and I'd always have kids who had no problem being in the other line. So I would play the game like that, and then through lots of thinking, realized I still don't like that. I don't think my students love that. And that's not all of them. So I'm not doing that anymore. So here's how I do it now. I'm just throwing it out there. And I understand some people are still like, I don't want to touch this song at all for other reasons. And that's totally fine. But here's how I do it, just presenting an idea. And I've heard this idea from others. So I'm not saying I've come up with it. So they're in their long way set, and they can be on any side of the long way set. The student who is quote unquote Susie, who gets to travel around the set during that first verse, we sing their name, and then they tell us how they want us to describe them. And I say it has to be like a compliment, it has to be something that's positive. And so, like, for example, if it happens to be, I'm just going to say the name Billy. If it happens to be Billy, I'm like, what kind of Billy are you today? Is how I ask them. And we brainstorm ahead of time. What are some really great compliments you could give somebody to make them feel good? And so I have a smartboard file, Mimeo board file, that has all of these different words that they can pull from, or if they want to come up with one on their own. And so, like the other day, I had a kiddo who's like sporty. And I was like, cool. So we would sing, where, oh, where is sporty little Billy? I have had some people who have chosen pretty or handsome, and that's fine if that's what they want us to choose. If I have kids who are hesitant to come up with a compliment for themselves because that feels weird, or like they don't want that, I'll have the students maybe brainstorm what are two different compliments we could give Tanya today, and then ask Tanya which one of those two prefers, because sometimes coming up with one off the bat. But I'll also back up and say when they make their long way set the first time, they choose with their partner who's going to be in the quote Susie line and who's going to be in the other line. So usually the kid who is a little more shy and doesn't want that spotlight on them will choose the other line, and it kind of works itself out. So whoever skips around the set and we sing where, oh, where is da 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 da, whatever compliment and whatever their name is. And then when we get to come on boys, let's go find her, first of all we change it to come on friends, let's go find them, and we just sing them for everybody. The end. And that's how I have come to play this game. The kids really love it. Still one of their favorites. It takes that extra little time to, brainstorm those adjectives and those compliments. And every time you have a new quote Susie, you have to decide what it's going to be. So the flow isn't quite the same as maybe what it used to be, but honestly, doesn't matter. What's more important to me is that my kids feel good about playing this game. So just want to throw it out there. That's how I play Pop Pop Patch now. Yes, Tanya, your hand is raised.
So Pop Pop Patch, I agree. I haven't played this gendered in a really long time.
Yeah.
And I just make one row of kids and another row of kids. And I don't even talk about who your partner is, because it just doesn't matter until you are making the bridge.
Until they make the bridge, yeah.
Yeah. So, the person that you make the bridge with, that lasts for seconds and whatever that happens. But as a class, I have us vote on some adjectives. And my rules are, it's got to be 2 syllables, because I want it to fulfill that ticka, right? I mean, do I have to do it that way? No, we could make it work, because we've got way down yonder we've got that ticka in there. So that provides that need for having that rhythm. But before we play the game, I describe what we're going to be doing and what are some positive adjectives that we could use that are 2 syllables. And then we make a list. And some of the things they come up with are a little wonky, but that's okay. Like fortnight. One whole class voted to say fortnight little so-and-so.
Right.
And they all were jazzed about that.
Yeah.
So we just went with that, and that's fine. I like your inclusion of the kid gets to choose what we call them. maybe I'll try it like that one time just to see how that goes. I just like picking that adjective ahead of time so that we can just keep rolling and we don't stop.
Yeah, and you could again because the flow gets interrupted. And I'm glad you mentioned the syllable thing. I did that last year where I really wanted them to choose a two-syllable complement, and then it started to get bogged down because then they kept throwing ideas at me that weren't two syllables, and we'd have to stop and talk about it. So I decided for the game, I didn't care. But anytime we sit and we're reading and we're working this song, we go back to the original. Where oh where is pretty little Susie? Because there's nothing wrong with the original. It's fine if Susie wants to be considered pretty. Like I have no problem with that, and the kids don't. But it's just for themselves when they play the game. So we still get that ticka ticka in the context of any time we're reading and working with the song. I'm like, let's go back to the original lyrics. And I just tell them these are the original lyrics. But when we play the game, this is how you can choose to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do come up with weird things. I mean, the one thing I will say that I did kind of redirect was I had a kid who wanted to say crazy. And, they were doing it in a very non harmful way. They were talking about, being silly or being funny. And I said, sometimes when people use that word crazy, they don't mean it in a nice way. So how could we reframe that? Could we use the word either silly or funny? And then they're like, yeah, cool. So, like, there are times where I've tried to steer them in a different direction just because I think that's a teachable moment, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
not always a kind way to refer to somebody, even yourself. So let's come up with a different way. But
I have
other
done
than
the
that,
exact
I
same
try
thing.
to
Yeah.
I try to take what they give me.
Yeah. Yeah. I divert away from crazy as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I say, can we be specific? And like, crazy could not be considered a positive, or, let's keep it all positive. Also is kind of derogatory, like what you mentioned
Yeah.
before, that you just
Exactly.
steer away. I mean, our school has kind of also steered away from like using the term crazy hair day, like goofy
Yeah.
hair day, or that kind of thing, which is, it makes a lot of sense. For the third verse, I use come on now, let's go find them. Come on now, let's go, which is the same thing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cute.
you could get cute with it. You could say, come on, y'all, let's go find them,
Yeah. That'll
or
change the rhythm
whatever.
though.
Okay. Yes. So
But
there you
yeah,
go.
I mean, I think it just brings up the topic of, and we saw Christopher Roberts present a fantastic session on this. That was back in Portland, wasn't it? Wasn't that in Portland?
Yes.
Um,
March 2020.
yeah,
Woo.
but it really, for a long time, we as Kona inspired teachers are like, never change song lyrics, never da da da. And yes, there are also times where I'm not just going to change the lyrics of the song if it's got a super harmful history to it. Just changing a word sometimes, oftentimes, is not going to erase the history associated with that song, right? That's different than I'm going to change this word because it's going to make my students who feel outside of the gender norms not feel comfortable with the song anymore, right? Or I
Yeah.
don't want to think about myself as pretty. I want to think about myself as smart. And I will say the word smart, that's one of the reasons why I let them keep it one syllable. Because anytime a kid's like, I want to say smart, like I was like, how am I going to tell a kid no to that, you know? So,
Yeah.
anyways, I know I'm preaching to the choir here with you, Tanya, especially, but I just want to say this is an example of a way that we can change a song in a way that doesn't change its history and also doesn't change its pedagogical purpose because I'm still using it for the same thing. And here's the last thing I will say about it, and then I'll move on. I happened to be doing this song in game when our SEL teacher happened to walk in the room, and she was there to just observe a couple of kids and see how they were doing because there were some issues the day before, not in music class, but in the classroom or maybe recess, whatever. So she was just checking it out, seeing how it was going, and the smile on her face. And I don't say this to make myself feel better, but just to remind ourselves that the work is more than what's just happening in the music room, right? When these kiddos were giving themselves compliments and giving each other compliments, I could just see that she was like beaming, like, yay, here's an example of how SEL can be embedded into all parts of a student's day, not just the 10 minutes of morning meeting with their classroom or the first week of music class when we're trying to learn kids' names. Like we can continue to embed, and it's not a big thing, it's just a little thing. So Okay, that's my long spiel about Paw Paw Patch. So that's where we're going. And then this week, I'm excited to present Ticka Ticka. We talked a lot about Ticka Ticka last time because I know you did it with your second graders this year. But I love Ticka Ticka. It's just such a fun concept to teach because it's really clear and the kids usually really get excited about it. And this particular group of third graders I know is very ready for it. So that's my plan this week is to present Ticka Ticka, keep practicing Ray, and then slowly start to move into Lola, but then also just keeping the calm and the very like clear pacing of the music room as we move into busy holiday time because this is a time where kids start to feel frantic throughout their day and I really want to make sure that I'm keeping things consistent and clear and a quick pace but not a frantic pace with this particular group of kids.
We like to know better so that we can do better because you can't do better until you know what it is. Anyway, this is time for Carrie to share know better, do better.
Yeah, and I'm just going to share again because I know we talked about it in our last episode. This new book that has just been released, Music as a Vehicle, a practical guide to implementing culturally responsive teaching in today's music classrooms by Ashley Cuthbertson. Just got my copy in the mail. Tanya's got
Me
hers
too.
in the mail. Now, I want to start off by making a correction, and it's a small thing, but I think it's important. In our last episode, with Dr. Karen Howard, I mentioned this book and I said something about Ashley being a Kodai inspired teacher. And I just want to clarify, I said that because that's how I first met Ashley was through Oak conferences and her work in the Kodai world. And I wouldn't say that she's disassociated herself with that, but I don't know that that's how she would describe her work first. So I just, because I said Ashley Cuthbertson is a Kodai inspired teacher, I just didn't want us to make the assumption or the implication that that's what her work is based on. Her work is based on this. This is her work, and I know that she is still very involved in Oak and those of us in the Kodai philosophy. But I just want to be clear on that. When I said that, that was probably not the best descriptor to use of Ashley's work. Now, obviously, I just got this book, so I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to dig into it. And if you're wondering what this book is about or why it might be for you, I just want to read one little part from the introduction that I think is a good little hook, maybe, for us to think about. She says, there are so many misconceptions about how culturally responsive teaching looks when it is implemented in the music classroom. But through this book, you will see not only the truth of what culturally responsive teaching is, but you will also learn what will happen when you shift to making culturally responsive music teaching a norm and not an exception. When this occurs, your learners will really thrive. This is how we make music for everyone. And I think that really speaks to those of us who are on our Kodai inspired journey that we talk about music for everyone all the time. But I think it's important to really reflect on what that means and whether we're really walking the walk as well as talking the talk. So I'm thankful to Ashley for writing this book, and I'm excited to dig into it. We'll link to where you can purchase it in our show notes. But congratulations to Ashley on publishing this book. I'm excited to read it.
Me too.
So that brings us to our Work Smarter, Not Harder teacher segment, where we share a tiny tip or something that just makes our teaching lives easier. So what have you got, Tanya?
Okay, this kind of veers away from our typical work smarter, not harder, but it is definitely in the spirit of work smarter, not harder. I have noticed in this past week, it being election week, that I need to be watching over my mental health. I have had the problem with social media in that I've just been consuming so many things, Facebook, Instagram, what used to be called Twitter, also podcasts. I'm a big news podcast junkie person. And after this past week, I just reached a point where it was just making me um, not just miserable, but like obsessed. And it wasn't doing anything good for my headspace. And so I am taking a step back and a hard stop on all of my social media, at least until the 1st of November. So if you send us a message on Facebook, I hope that Carrie can step in, or you could just please email us at music teacher coffee talk podcast at gmail.com. Because I'm checking emails. There's no harm in that. I just know that for myself, I need to parent my own brain, and my own brain is spiraling and spiraling, and it's not getting things done. Also, I have to remember that it's not all about getting things done, and that productivity is not need to be the number one thing in my life, and that we need to take a break, and that should be just within our lives daily, where we experience rest, be it getting outside in the sunlight and in nature, or a rest in silence. And I can't believe I'm saying that of all people, because boy, I love not silence. Because I love music, of course, and I love people talking to me through podcasts and audiobooks and all the things. Anyway, so my work smarter, not harder is that know yourself and know when you need to uh, parent your own self. Treat yourself as a toddler sometimes and say, no, you cannot eat all the ice cream. It's not going to be good for you later on. You cannot consume all the news and all of the social media, Tanya. In fact, it would be good for you to just full stop for a minute or a few. So,
I love that. Can I ask a clarifying question? You
of
said
course.
you were going to be off the socials till November 1st. So did you
Oh,
mean
no, I meant
November
December
1st?
1st.
Okay.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, if people are listening to us, they might
So,
be really confused. And
no, I'm so sorry. I misspoke. See, I'm not even looking at my calendar. No, I really am
no,
looking
that's
at my
great.
calendar. Um, and you know what? I know I'm doing that thing. I hate that thing when people on social media say, "Hey, everybody," I'm like, you don't need to announce your departure, just whatever. Um, I'm not trying to say, hey, everybody, I know I'm so important in the world. You're not going to be here. I'm just saying that I did a little a ghosting of all things social media. It's been really hard. I actually had a dream last night of doom scrolling. You know, you've got a problem when in your dreams you're doom scrolling. And in my dream, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this. This is not good for me. But I kept doing it in my sleep.
Wow.
So that's a good sign, because this has only been a day and a half. So who am I to? It's also helpful for me to put it out there as an accountability piece. Not that anyone's going to check up on me, but if you want to, you got to do it through Gmail, uh, and not through social media. I got to know that I need to be healthy, just so I'm stopping that. And December 1st, at least, and maybe more time, or maybe I just really stick to the shortened amount of time that I swore I would do by putting those settings on my phone. But
Yeah.
you know, when you've had your time, that little window pops up and it says, this, you're done. Do you want to extend, or do you want to say not today? Or, and it's too easy to bypass that.
Yeah.
I know there's all these tips and tricks on how to not engage in social media. I just need a cleansing right now.
I get it. That's awesome.
And it's time for our coda section, where we talk about something we are enjoying in our life, whether it be in the music room or outside of the music room. Carrie.
I'm going to talk about an in the music room thing because outside of the music room, I haven't been finding a lot of things enjoying lately. So I'm just to be honest. I've been very immersed in my school life this week because that's been helpful to me. I just want to mention, and I know we've mentioned her work before, but choral music arranged by our good friend Ginger Littleton. So I bring this up because at the elementary choral festival that I did last week, I chose one of Ginger's pieces, This Little Light of Mine, to have the students sing. And it is such a perfect arrangement. And I just say that from the experience of, doing two-part music with kids can be hard, right? And
Yeah.
Ginger finds this like perfect balance between it's interesting to the audience, it's interesting to the kids. I love that it's not just one part gets the melody the whole time and the other part singing some, thing. She moves the melody around so each part gets a little counter melody or a little harmonic thing in it. She's got some sweet little things. So like when they sing the "Don't let anyone it out" instead of "Don't let anyone blow it out," talking about your light, you have the kids hold up their finger and blow on their finger, and it's like it's just cute enough and childlike enough that it's endearing without being childish or hokey. The kids really loved it, they took to it, they learned it really well, and I just have to say, having experienced it in a new light, within this realm of this choral festival, not knowing how the kids were going to come at this piece, just what a wonderful arranger she is. So if you're looking for elementary choir music, definitely look for things written by or arranged by Ginger Littleton. She publishes through Briley Music, but you can find her work, in the J.W. Pepper catalogs and all that. And, really anything that Ginger does is probably going to go really well for your choir because she's a really thoughtful arranger, because she herself was an elementary music teacher for many, many years and well trained and just knows the child's voice really well. So just wanted to put
Yes.
in a plug because I had so much fun with that piece this week.
Awesome. That's lovely.
How about you, Tanya? What are you enjoying?
Well, it's funny when you swear off social media, how much time you have in your life. I mean, oh, excuse me. Um, so I've been reading and I've been watching TV too, but just documentaries and, you know, goofy shows. But I have been reading a book that's actually a book club book from my school. Within my school, we have a staff book club, and we're reading this wonderful book called Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books, which is just a really charming and poignant book. It's good timing right now. And it's also giving me a list of books that I really want to read that are banned in places. And that's a fantastic book. But I also want to give a shout out of a documentary on Netflix called Will and Harper. And it is a documentary of Will Ferrell and his friend Harper Steele, who uh, is a trans woman and made that transition at age 60. And so she is out on the road with her friend Will, and they talk about their friendship and they talk about her life as a trans woman. And they go to, I mean, it's interesting because Harper loves uh, dive bars and bad beer and hanging out in places that are not known to be trans friendly. And so they go to these places. And it's at times heartbreaking and at times uplifting. And it even made me a little teary at a point. But it's just a really great documentary. Not that it doesn't solve all the world's problems, definitely doesn't solve all the trans people's issues, but it just sheds a light and it's really good watching no matter who you are. So,
Awesome.
got two things. We've reached the double bar line. Thank you for listening to Music Teacher Coffee Talk. Show notes can be found at musicteachercoffeetalkpodcast.com. You can connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Music Teacher Coffee Talk.
If you enjoyed this show, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving us a review on iTunes to help others find this podcast. And we always appreciate folks buying us a coffee, so look for that link on our show notes and on our Facebook page. Until next time, this is Carrie.
And this is Tanya wishing you happy musicking.
I think you're introducing me.